This video contains a lot of racial stereotypical thinking, and I understand it's flawed, and so I'm just going to be personal with you and honest, and I hope you can accept me, because sometimes I wish that I was black. Now, I don't always. Sometimes I'm very happy for my place in society and my family and what I know and have experienced. I've been very lucky in life. And I don't argue about privilege with others because it's impossible to compare two lives. Honestly, how do you know what somebody's experiences are like? Maybe the experience of being black would have been terrible for me. That's why I'm saying this video contains some tropes. But black people are better at boxing and basketball and football. Based on the numbers, they're more physical. They have reputations as having better sexual bodies with larger genitalia. They have the reputation of being victims on a global scale that gives them a certain kind of privilege, whether you can recognize it or not. There is such a thing as deference to the victim of a crime. And American history has been a crime against black people. There's very little arguing with that because it's so obvious on its face. There's also a sense of solidarity and unity with your fellow man. Now, there are disadvantages. Definitely the distribution of wealth is not advantageous for black people. The distribution of imprisonment. But in my life, imprisonment has been unavoidable because of my criminality. I am a felon. I am a wiretapper. I film people and then I lie about it. And that's a felony with 7 years punishment. I spent a year in solitary confinement. But what makes me wish I was black is during that year of solitary confinement, sometimes my biggest association was with the correctional officers instead of the fellow inmates. And this is not sensible. And I feel like that identification with the ruling class, which is inappropriate for most white people. But nevertheless, that assumption that you are in kind of control of situations, that's a stereotype that has never benefited me because I've never felt it to be true, and yet I've always acted as if that was somewhat the case. Look, again, I'm uncomfortable with all of these statements because I don't like generalizing about color groups. I simply don't think it's legitimate, and I simply think it is too simple and frankly stupid. But at the same time, I'd be remiss not to tell you, I wish I was black sometimes. And when I think about it, I wonder what my life would be like if I did have that feeling of solidarity with my common man that I just don't feel. Because of my eccentricism and my crazy uniqueness. That's what crazy should mean, unique. It leaves me alone. And I don't have the connections that I really believe I would have had if I was inculcated with the blackness that our culture creates, if that makes sense. So the blackness of movies and Denzel Washington and Will Smith, this kind of heroic blackness that faces impossible odds and then overcomes them. That's the story of blackness in America as well, to the point where you get a president as an African American. Can you believe it? But then at the same time, that critical doubt of, are you legitimately black? And if you're black, you know that black doubt is misplaced. You know what you are. Whereas for me, I have no identification with other white people that is conscious. In fact, when people try and lump me with other white people, I tend to reject those people, not just their arguments, because I don't want to be associated with a racial group. If I was black, if I didn't want to be associated with other black people, it would be because of political goals that I currently share with that person. Growing up with that in my mind would have made me a different person. I wonder if it would have been a better person than the man I am today. So it's a mixed bag, and it doesn't matter what color you are, and it's all stupid. But I do sometimes, and I think that's one of the reasons that I was willing to don blackface to cover my tattoos for a better shot at the job market. I was willing to do that, and the YouTube political market. I was willing to do that partly because I have an admiration that is not mutual. I don't think black people look upon me the way I look upon them. Sometimes, while I wish I was black, I kind of doubt most black people wish that they were white like me. I think they look at me and they think, that's a freak. I'm glad I'm not. And I think I get that feeling from everyone. And I don't think, also, because of the color of paper and the nature of tattoos, I don't think I'd be as enamored of tattoos if I was black, because the colors wouldn't show as visibly. And if I didn't care about tattoos, I do wonder if my prospects in life would be somewhat different. I wonder as a black man how far I could have gotten, whereas now I feel like I washed up in nothinghood and making no difference at all, waiting for a fursuit so I can do a more modern blackface than has ever encountered the world before. Nobody's done brownicorn sevicorn face, but that's what I plan on doing. And that is a kind of blackface that will involve a strap-on with a zipper in the front of the fursuit so that I can move from childhood education to adulthood content. And those will be different YouTube channels. All of my plans revolve in some ways around brownness. Not to mention the brown dragon of Jenkemism. Riding that brown dragon through the ether and through the spiritual realm of understanding and contentment, sucking in the Jenkem of life and breathing out the brown breath of truth. That might have come earlier for me as a human being if I was black. And I don't know if that's true or not, but anything that would benefit my Jenkemity would be a preference to what I had in real life, which was a Jenkem shortage until old age. I'm 39 now, and I've only discovered Jenkem this year. If I was black, especially Zambian, maybe I could have learned it growing up, and that would have changed my life for the better. There's no doubt about that. So those are the breaks. You know, I'm happy with who I am. I don't want to be another man because I've ran up on this individual identity that I'm proud of. But maybe I would have been better off. And that goes against common wisdom, but it might be true.